Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews. I'm so excited to be back with you. I had a great trip to Uganda, and we have so much to tell you about that, but I'll write a blog about that. But today, we're going to talk a little bit from our maintenance and reliability world with Andre. Andre, will you jump in and kind of just introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, thank you very much, Charli, for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you today. So about myself, I was born in East Africa, in Indian Ocean, the Seychelles precisely. Actually, I was there last month, so I was not very far from you in Uganda, same part of the world. So I moved to Europe when I was a teenager. I moved to France, and then I did my high school degree in chemical engineering in France. I think it was John Wilson who mentioned the other day on one of your podcasts that the 90s were not a good time to graduate as an engineer or a chemical engineer. So totally correct. So that's why I went back to the Seychelles in the Indian Ocean and started my career with a brewing company. So Guinness, you probably had a Guinness before. So that was it. Yeah. So it was really great making beer and obviously drinking beer. But very soon they guided me towards maintenance engineering. In those days, you were kind of voluntold for a job. You didn't kind of volunteer. They told you where to go. But I embraced this career that was coming my way. So I started working in the field of total productive maintenance. And after a while, I decided to move back to Europe, where I worked for Intel Corporation, the company that makes the microprocessors. So it was a fast-paced, high-tech NASDAQ listed company, and kind of a different approach to work. But I was there as a maintenance system engineer, and that's where I got my first overview of a large manufacturing plant with kind of worldwide ramifications and all the aspects of equipment maintenance. After that, I moved to Canada, where I currently reside. I've been working here for about 20 years in the oil and gas industry. I retired last March, so I am now self-employed, and I'm the owner of Cogito Reliability. When I came to Canada, just with a thread where we went from maintenance earlier, now I'll move into the reliability word. When I came to Canada, this is where I met the person who probably had the most influence in my career as a reliability engineer. So the name of the person was Paul Barringer. Maybe it'll resonate with some of the audience here. And he introduced me to the concepts of reliability engineering analytics, the statistical aspects of it. So when I was in Canada, I also did a part-time degree in the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Alberta. And there, again, I took various courses in reliability engineering. So I worked as a reliability engineer in Canada, mainly for refineries and later on in pipelines. So stayed mainly in the oil and gas section. I was even given at a stage of my career, I was given the opportunity to set up and manage a reliability team. I am not a manager at heart, really, but I have a lot of respect for people who do this job. It's a great job. But for me, when my team was up and running, I just switched back to an engineering role. So I retired last March, as I said, and I've always wanted to spend my time doing what I like, helping customers out and helping customers move ahead in the field of reliability engineering analytics. So I specialize in reliability statistics and reliability modeling. So the modeling part is so often called RAM modeling, so reliability, availability, maintainability. That's the acronym with RAM. So we build models, and you're probably going to ask me later on what I do exactly.
Well, I do have several questions from what you've said. The first question that I have is, why did you choose chemical engineering?
At the time, it was a pretty interesting career whereas the world of oil and gas was kind of starting to boom, and also sometimes you have some affinity for one subject at school versus another one. So because I really was passionate about chemistry and all the aspects of process engineering, so that led me to chemical engineering. I did have a chance as a student to work in Scotland on related to oil rigs and stuff like that. So it was mainly a choice based on the economy at the time, and also the affinity for process engineering.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's kind of a common theme during that time, and trying to figure out, do you go towards kind of that math and science, engineering, kind of that was the story. If you were good in those areas, let's go into engineering. And then just being kind of fascinated from kind of that chemical side of things. My daughter, actually, she loves to create a potion. So I always think of that when I think of chemical, but you really love the process side. And I think that leads to your success in maintenance and reliability.
Yes.
The other question I have was, like, what is the difference for people between the maintenance and reliability? We always kind of talk about this, but can you tell us from your perspective, kind of what are the differences there?
That's an excellent question. Actually, I was going to write an article about it in the coming weeks. It's an important distinction between the functions. So for me, having worked in the field of maintenance and then in the field of reliability, I'm able to step back and see what the roles are really and how they interconnect. So basically, for me, in a very short answer, maintenance engineers are the people who focus on the short-term approach to improving maintenance performance. So short terms is getting the equipment running, doing the day-to-day, week-to-week tasks, and trying to optimize those functions or those tasks so that the organization and the overall equipment effectiveness can benefit. Reliability engineering goes more into a longer-term approach versus the short term of maintenance engineering. So they go into more the longer term approach. So they're the guys who try and develop the crystal ball for the company, and they look into the numbers and they look into the statistics to try and see what the equipment is going to perform in the future. So they have this futuristic approach, and using statistics, as I said, they can develop this crystal ball. So if I were to look at the roles from a practical standpoint in an organization or an industry, the maintenance engineer would be more hands-on, closer to the machine. The reliability engineer would be a little bit more detached, and then more an office-based work. He'll be closer to the boardroom. And I always use this analogy. The reliability engineer is the guy who represents the maintenance engineer in his boardroom, whereas the maintenance engineer is the guy who takes stuff and from the reliability engineer and applies it in the field. So they are complementary, very important. It's very important they work together. And just a last comment, often people ask me is, how to become a reliability engineer? And my answer is, start by being a good maintenance engineer. And if you want to move on to reliability engineering, it's a great stepping stone. And the other way around would be a little bit more challenging, because when you're a reliability engineer, you have to relate to what's happening in the field. You have to know how a pump works, what the failure modes of a pump are. So then you can basically conceptualize this when you're doing your work as a reliability engineer.
Yeah, that's a great point. And being able to explain those things, you have to know it at its simplest form, right? To be able to explain it to others, which is what you're going to have to do in the boardroom, like you said, to get the culture to change, or the theories of what we need to do as far as, overall holistic look at your system. If you can't explain that to people that aren't in the field and get them to buy into it, then you're going to have a hard time implementing that, or getting the funds that you need maybe to invest in some higher data driven or digital technologies, for example. Have you seen just in your work, I mean, I love, first of all, that you've retired and still continued creating a company as an entrepreneur to serve this industry. So thank you for doing that and staying around with your knowledge. But have you seen people adapting more of the digital technology as far as data capturing that's going to help them use some of that statistics and things like that? Are they using the digital technologies to collect that data out in the field?
So yeah, that's a very, very good question, and it's a bit of a dilemma. There was one stage when, about maybe 5-10 years ago, when the digital world exploded, and then we had access, or we were seeking access to all this data. I think that was a great thing, but we came to a roadblock as we might get all this data, but we don't know what to do with it. So it's important not to forget the fundamentals, how do I say, the theoretical fundamentals. It's okay to have data, but what do I do with it, and how do I use it to the benefit of a customer? So I think we're now at the crossroad where we're realizing that we did a great job in getting lots of data, but in order to use this data, we still need people like myself, like maybe yourself, around to be able to crunch this data and then be innovative about what's the next step. How do we use this data to develop KPIs? How do we use this data to optimize equipment performance? You still need this human knowledge there, right? But I still think there's collecting data is important, because one of the struggles I've had in my career is access to good data. When I say good data, it's data which is correct. So maybe in your field of work, they work a lot with CMMS, the computer maintenance management system.
I have to just say before you go on, like having me work on the equipment or even figuring out the behind the scenes, you're giving me way too much credit there. I always like to say I know just enough to be dangerous, but there is. To your point, a lot of people that have collected the data and don't know what to do with it. And so making sure that we have people that we are teaching them out in the field, that hands-on, that they are working with the equipment, whether that's their end goal or not, I think is so important. And then I'm seeing some additional like service companies and things like that are stepping into this world of, okay, they've been taking care of this equipment a lot. They understand kind of where the failures happened. They have data to prove like this is what happened in the past and this is how we fixed it. And so looking at some of those service companies too, but to your point, like we have to continue to educate people on the system and how it's supposed to be working.
But I think the approach is going back to the CMMS and to the good point you just made. Sometimes we have issues with CMMS. They become like a white elephant. We just implement them because everybody has a CMMS. So we have to use it correctly and get people to not put garbage in so we get garbage out. Now, there's good companies that use the CMMS very well. They put in good info and then they use this info and crafted great maintenance strategies. Others just had a little bit of a white elephant, and there's reasons why they had a white elephant. They had never educated their workforce to what was the benefit of putting in a CMMS and getting all this good data, or getting people to use this data effectively. But I don't think and I want to send this message out there, is if you have a CMMS with not so good information in there, there is still hope. You can still use AI or what we call machine learning to try and clean up this data so you can still use it today. So don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. So it's bad what we have. We gotta throw it away. No, don't do that. There's still hope. So AI and all this data opportunities we have, data crunching opportunities, we can still do good things with, I was going to say, bad data.
Yes. Well, I think that was a great point, the correct data. And then using what we have, it's wonderful news, I think, for a lot of people, that it's not wasted, that work and effort that they did put in and they tried. We just maybe didn't have the culture I can say this because I run off it with my vision all the time. I know what the vision is, and I forgot to bring my people behind me along. So once we can get the buy-in, this is why this is important, then we can use some of that data. But yes, having the correct data in there makes it so much easier when we're trying to accomplish big things. So you're doing this now. You're going into companies and helping them kind of take their data and make a plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they come up with a problem statement usually, and I would say, well, I have this manufacturing plant, I want to build a model for it. So I will build a reliability model that will mimic the performance of the manufacturing plant over the next coming years. So it'll give them information, like, I'll try and make it simple. What's the expected number of failures on each of your equipment? So that will help them organize maintenance strategies and resource allocation. They can find out how effective the repairs are. Are they really effective? Do we get 50% of time back? Stuff like that. So that will help them improve maintenance practices. They will know. Sometimes we look really deep into the data, the nature of a failure. Is it infant mortality? How much infant mortality? Or is it a nice aging, increasing failure over time? Optimizing spare parts, not a model can help them not overstock. No, understock. Understocking is risky because you don't have the spare when you need it. But if you overstock, it's money sitting on your shelf, and that will, rot away eventually. And then things like probabilities of failure over time is, for example, one day I had a VP asking me, well, I don't have money to repair this equipment. It survived to date. What's the probability it's going to survive another 2 years? So you give them this number, and then they put it in a risk matrix or a risk analysis, and it helps them make a decision and say, oh, should I find the money to replace it? Or, oh no, I can wait 2 years, so I have time to budget for it. So it's basically having those problem statements and then taking their records, their data, and trying to help them make a better decision for the future, right?
Yeah, that made me, for some reason, made me think about my risk management class. Those in the world of finance, but the risk management, and just, if it's a critical piece of equipment, then we have to have it. So knowing those types of things in advance, projecting and forecasting on when maintenance wouldn't be required, all good stuff, and things that we need to be thinking about. So I feel like I should just say people that are needing this help to get in touch with you. But what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
So I have a website out there. It's cogito.reliability. I can put it on. I'm on LinkedIn also. My website is cogitoreliability.com, and it's you. And I'm Andre at cogitoreliability.com. So basically, and I'm on LinkedIn. So if you type in, I have a long name, André-Michel Ferrari. So if you type in my name, you'll find me up there in LinkedIn. And the company is already there, and you can contact me through email. So I'm fairly out there. I also publish articles every week or every 2 weeks. So you can read about my articles or the things I'm trying to share with the community, the ideas I'm trying to share. So I'm out there. I think if you go on Google and you type my name, André-Michel Ferrari, a lot of things will come up with regards to my name and how to get hold of me.
Awesome. And we'll put links to that, of course, in the show notes. But I want to just ask, a couple of questions about, advice that you would give somebody coming into the maintenance reliability space. Anything you would offer them?
So I think I mentioned earlier, if you want to be a reliability engineer, start by being a maintenance engineer, being close to the equipment. That's good. So I would say, well, try and be innovative, right? It's sometimes try and think out of the box, and then if you're a reliability or maintenance engineer, or you're in the reliability world, look around you and try to find these opportunities for your employer or your customers, right? Everybody at the end of the day is a customer. So I have those records, like for example, right? I have those really good CMMS records. What can I do with it? How can I help my company? Who can I work it, right? So that's it.
This is my other kind of rapid fire questions for you. What is the best advice that you've ever received?
Well, kind of spin this around. I think getting a no or a refusal, it's actually not always a bad thing. So you might thank the person later for saying no to you, because maybe you've moved on to bigger and better. So that's something that you will find out as you move on in life, that no is not always a bad thing. Also, I think the advice that I've received is the power of role modeling in someone's life. Everyone needs a good role model, especially when you're starting out. So you, Charlie, you're a great role model. So I continue doing what you're doing, and then be adventurous and creative. Seek out opportunities. Don't always follow the flock. Don't be afraid to stand out. Seek out those opportunities, and don't always choose the easy path out.
I love it. I love it. Okay, just a little about you. I'd love to know what your favorite music is.
Okay, so my favorite music is, I play the guitar a little bit, so I'm not gonna do this for you. So whatever I can play on the guitar is my favorite music. So I love country music, I have folk music and things like Cat Stevens and stuff like that, right? The
Wonderful.
Beatles, not really country, but it's rock music, things like that. Things that I can play on the guitar.
I love it. I love it. I think I remember from LRVS seeing your guitars in the background
in the background,
yeah. The last question I have for you is just, what is your favorite book resource that you would give to people?
So my favorite book is right now. I'm reading it. I'll show it to the camera there. You can see it. It's The Psychology Influence of Persuasion. It's basically a book where you're trying to, the author tries to understand how salesmen get you to buy stuff, right? Not that I want to be a salesman, but sometimes we all confronted with salesmen. So we have to know how they think, but also how to talk to people and try and influence them. Also in our job, we try to influence people positively and show them, if you if you use your data this way, that's how it'll turn out. So this is the book that's helping me craft the mindset of good influence, not bad influence, but
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
influence.
I definitely can relate to that. And I think that's a great resource. Basically, we say it all the time. Everybody's in sales. You have to be able to sell your ideas, basically to share it in a way that people want to follow you or get on board with what you're doing. So look forward to hearing from you what you learned. And I'm really excited about your company and your growth there. So thanks for being with us today on the podcast. Everyone, y'all make sure that you like, share. There's somebody out here that is struggling to find the answer that they need in reliability, and Andre might be it for them. So please share this with your network, comment, and do all those great things that help us show up for other people, because we do have some really great people on the podcast. Andre, thanks for your time today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you.
Yeah, and thank you so much to you, and good luck again in Uganda, all the great work you're doing, and then everybody out there. So if you have any issues, you can contact me. Again, I'm on LinkedIn, André-Michel Ferrari, and my company is cogitoreliability.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Hey, y'all, don't forget, share this episode. And until next time, be empowering.